They say the fall of empires comes with the clash of armies, the break of walls, the flash of steel. But what if I told you an empire could fall from the bedchamber? In 38 AD, the Roman Empire was at the height of its power, yet within the very heart of its empire, a young bride was quietly setting the stage for one of the most infamous reigns in history. Her name, Messalina. Beautiful, young, and cunning beyond measure, she would soon prove that power doesn't always come from the throne. It can be wielded from the shadows of the most private chambers. What drove this empress to become one of Rome's most feared figures? Let's uncover the hidden desires and the dangerous, manipulative mind that lurked behind her perfect facade. When Messalina entered the Palatine Palace at just 15, she was destined to be the ideal Roman empress. Chosen by Emperor Claudius, a man over twice her age, she appeared to embody all the qualities Rome demanded of its women: virtuous, dutiful, and poised to bear heirs that would stabilize the empire after the madness of Caligula's rule. To the Roman people, she was the ideal consort. But beneath the robes of the virtuous empress, another story began to unfold. Messalina's beauty was more than just a physical gift, it was a tool. And with it, she began to weave a dangerous web that would soon entangle the men of Rome and shake the very foundations of the empire. The palace that was supposed to represent peace and stability became, instead, a place of indulgence and manipulation. What if the very expectations placed upon her, an empress, to remain pure and perfect were the spark that lit the fire of her rebellion? What if her desire to break free from those chains was more powerful than any ambition for wealth or power? Messalina's rebellion didn't begin in the palace. In the cover of night, she slipped away from the watchful eyes of the court, abandoning the marble floors of the imperial palace for the grime-filled streets of Rome. Disguised as a common courtesan, she entered the infamous Sabura district, a dark part of the city known for its brothels and depravity. This wasn't a moment of weakness or desperation, it was an act of defiance. Messalina, the Empress of Rome, didn't just want to escape her gilded cage. She wanted to prove something both to herself and to the men of Rome. She wanted to prove that she could indulge in the pleasures forbidden to her, that she could outdo the most seasoned courtesans in the empire. Imagine the shock of a senator, one who had seen her in all her imperial splendor, stepping into a brothel only to find Messalina beneath layers of cheap makeup and perfume. Was it madness, or was it a calculated move to control the very men who thought they held power over her? Back in the palace, Messalina's hunger for power only deepened. No longer just playing the part of a dutiful wife, she transformed the Roman court into her personal stage, a theater of lust and control. The grand banquets that once symbolized Roman virtue became elaborate displays of her manipulative power. Picture it, a feast fit for an emperor: golden platters stacked with roasted meats, figs dripping in honey, wine poured from jewel-encrusted goblets. Senators, generals, and noble families sat nervously around the table, not knowing that they were about to be pulled into Messalina's twisted games. Messalina would summon gladiators, captives from distant provinces, and even high-ranking men of Rome to entertain her guests. But the games weren't just for amusement, they were for power. She used sex, humiliation, and degradation to break her victims, forcing them into submission and silence. One of her most infamous games was a grotesque contest with Scylla, the most renowned prostitute in Rome. Messalina wagered she could outlast Scylla in sexual endurance. Scylla, exhausted after serving 25 men, collapsed, but Messalina, she continued, past 30, past 40, until the room fell silent, not in applause, but in utter horror. Her victory was not celebrated, it was feared. Her power was no longer about beauty or charm. It was about breaking those around her, shattering the moral fabric of the empire piece by piece. What was her goal? Was it the thrill of indulgence, or a colder, more calculated desire to control the empire's elite? In a world ruled by fear and ambition, Messalina chose humiliation as her weapon, bending the most powerful men in Rome to her will. But Messalina's manipulation didn't stop at humiliation. She had learned the art of blackmail. With each affair, each moment of control, she gathered secrets. Every whispered confession, every compromising situation was turned into leverage. Senators, generals, aristocratic families, none were safe from her reach. Messalina created an empire of fear, a hidden network where her lovers, forced into submission, would live in constant dread of exposure. Those who crossed her, who spurned her advances, met sudden, mysterious ends. A tribune was found floating in the Tiber, a noble stripped of office overnight. Her enemies vanished, their reputations shattered, their fates sealed. Her brothel wasn't just a place for pleasure, it was a strategic operation. Aristocratic women were coerced into serving at her side, nobles were blackmailed, and the Senate itself trembled under her manipulation. Messalina had become Rome's puppet master, and every string was pulled by the weight of their darkest secrets. But no empire built on fear can stand forever. Messalina's final mistake came in 48 CE. With Claudius away, Messalina boldly married her lover, the Senator Gaius Silius. This wasn't a secret tryst, it was an open act of defiance. Messalina had taken her power too far. She had gone from controlling her lovers to completely subverting the very foundation of her marriage. It was no longer a secret she was flaunting her betrayal in the face of the emperor, daring him to act. When Claudius learned of her betrayal, he was furious. No longer the passive emperor, he returned to Rome with soldiers at his back. Messalina's reign, built on manipulation and fear, crumbled in an instant. Her life, once marked by power and fear, ended in desperation. Messalina begged for mercy, offering her children as hostages, but her fate was sealed. The empress who had humiliated Rome's elite was now at their mercy. Claudius ordered her execution, and Messalina's life was extinguished in a moment of panic, not grandeur. Messalina's name may have been erased from the records, her statues torn down, and her memory condemned, but the empire could not forget her. The story of Messalina, the empress who used her sexuality as a weapon, lives on as a chilling reminder of the power of shame and manipulation. Her tale is a warning, not just to those in power, but to all who believe they can control others with impunity. Messalina showed Rome that even the strongest empire can fall from within, destroyed not by invasion, but by the darkness that festers in the hearts of those who rule. But Messalina was not the only ruler to wield power through corruption and manipulation. In our next episode, we explore the dark reign of another infamous figure whose desire for control left a trail of destruction. Will history repeat itself? Subscribe to find out. If you enjoyed this story, like, comment, and subscribe. What do you think of Messalina's rise and fall? Let us know in the comments below, and join us for more shocking historical tales.